This video is for all my friends who are doing, $1 million, $3 million, $5 million a year, and who come to me and are always like, man, I want a challenge. This is so boring. I want to do something new and exciting. And so let me tell you a story about my neighbor. And so my neighbor had a trash business, all right, trash collection business, about as boring as it gets. And he sold his business a few years back for a lot of money. I'll just put it that way. And I was walking one day, and he was like watering his lawn. And I was like, hey, man, what's going on? And he said, I just got out of my non-compete. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. So, what are you planning on doing? He was like, well, I plan on doing the exact same thing again. And I was like, wait, what do you mean? He was like, well, I plan on starting another trash business and selling it right back to the guys who bought my last one. And I was like, what? And like, he could tell that I was kind of like confused by this. And he's like, why would I learn something new? He's like, I already know everything about the trash business. He's like, I'll just do it again. It just really hit me because I was like, so many entrepreneurs, myself included, right? And I made this mistake so many times early on in my career. We desire novelty. We desire challenges. We want growth, right? But the thing is that we think growth means new, when I think that a lot of times we could redefine growth as meaning we develop the character traits to be able to persist and continue to do the same things over and over again. You don't see these real estate moguls, for example, being like, man, I've built, $20 million in real estate. I kind of just need a challenge. I'm going to start a restaurant, right? They don't do that. I mean, think about how stupid that would sound to you. You're like, dude, you're so good at real estate. Just keep doing real estate, right? But I see this, especially in the marketing community more than anything, is this need for constant change and growth and challenge, right? But I think you need to redefine the challenges. This is becoming hard for you because you're getting bored. So the challenge is learning to A, be comfortable with boredom, or B, not need it. Because the business doesn't exist to satisfy our internal deficiencies, right? And that's usually what most of us build it. We're insecure, we need connection, we want status, right? These are all the things that we build our business to solve, but our business doesn't actually need to solve any of those things. It just needs to provide value to the customer. And then we try and extrapolate or project our own needs onto the business, and in so doing, break our businesses and make the wrong decision. And so let me tell you a different story. So I've had 1, 2, 3 different guys tell me in the internet marketing space, who I say one's doing 15 to 20 million, another's doing about 10 million, another's doing about 10 million a year. Probably in the neighborhood of like 3-ish million in profit per year, around there, 3 to 5. And so each of them on their own reached out to me and said, hey man, I think I'm going to start a software company because I'm not challenged enough doing this anymore, right? And I thought about that, and I just thought how kind of hilarious it was. It's like, I've risen to the top of my game. I'm bored doing what I'm doing, and so I'm going to stop doing this, and then I'm going to enter a new arena where everyone else has been doing that for 10 years, and there are other kingpins in that arena, and I'm going to try and relearn everything from ground zero, and then try and beat them. Now, here's what's interesting, right? Here's what's crazy. If you were to, let's say, make $100,000 a year in your business, and you decide that you're going to be a true entrepreneur, and it means you're never going to quit, and it means that you're going to continue to do business for, 40 years or whatever, right? If you were to gain at the same pace as the marketplace, which by the way, when you're smaller is really easy, right? It's 10% a year. If you were to grow by 10% a year, by the end of the 40 years, you would have $1 gazillion, right? But most people are always trying to beat the market, when in reality, if you just matched the market, you would become extraordinarily crazy wealthy at the end of this game. But because we are so frenetic and we have these insecurities that we project on our business and then force our business to solve our own personal issues, we end up breaking the thing that is actually working just fine because we have these interpersonal needs that we're trying to satisfy. And this was very hard for me to learn. I'm saying this because for me, this was a mistake that I made over and over again. Probably for the first 4 years of business for me, I tried to make my business solve my personal problems when it really just needed to solve my clients' problems, and I needed to deal with my own personal stuff, right? One of the things that I wanted to give you was the ways that I create challenges for myself within the business without destroying the business. All right. So let me give you 2 different things that have been complete lifesavers for me. So I have desires for innovation. I have desires for new things, right? And so where to channel that is not to create new businesses. Where to channel that is to create new front ends or new back ends. So meaning like, how can I change the hooks? How can I change the creative? How can I change the ad ideas, the marketing, the front ends that bring people in? Because the more variety I have there, the more different types of avatars I'm going to attract and ultimately grow the business. So you can use that entrepreneurial ADD, but use it in a way that's going to serve you, right? And serve the business rather than breaking the business, right? Whereas if you start creating more businesses to satisfy your ADD, then what ends up happening is, well, you have lots of businesses and you don't have any money. That's the first thing. The second thing that I do that I want to walk you through is understanding constraints, all right? One of the lessons that I've learned over the last 12 months is multiple metrics for success. And so I'll dive more into that in another video. But basically, for a very long time in my life, the only metric for success that I had was how much profit and how much increase in net worth I had at the end of the year. That was it. That's all I cared about. And I think that as we've gotten to the point where like an increase in net worth, the marginal utility of more money, meaning like the amount of extra good that I can purchase or that more money can purchase me is very, very little, right? There's nothing that an extra $10 million or an extra $50 million is going to purchase me that the first, 50 doesn't buy me, right? There's nothing, right? There's nothing that I can't already get, right? And so when you think about things like that, right, what it forces you to do is create different ways to win, right? Because it's a game, right? If you're entrepreneurial, then you should, especially if you become more successful, you'll see it as a game, right? And so you have this game that we're playing, and we have these metrics for success that originally are just increasing net worth, right? But then you can say, can I increase my net worth and have a good marriage? Can I increase my net worth and be in shape, right? And so one of the constraints that I'd like to offer you as a challenge to give to yourself so that you don't get bored in the business that you have is a constraint around time, right? And so that was one of the things that I did over the last 12 months was like, okay, I want to build something that does $1 billion a year in revenue, which is the goal for the portfolio. And transparently, we're not there. We're at about $85 million a year across our portfolio. We're still a little short, but it's a good thing to focus on. Now, the thing is that I don't want to make, and the way that I have to make that is I'm not going to outwork to get to $1 billion, right? You have to make good decisions and you have to let compounding work in your favor, right? Because if we have the 85 million and we grow by 10% a year, in 20 years we'll probably be there, right? And so, well, let's see, a doubling would happen every 7 years. So 21 years would be double, double, double. So that would be 2, 4, 8. So 8 times 85, no, we'd still be, so we need another doubling. So we'd have to, like 28 years from now, we could be it if we just grow at the market rate, which is pretty encouraging, I think, because I think we can beat the market rate. But anyways, the point is, adding constraints makes the goals far more interesting, because I think the first level of achieving any goal is learning how to sacrifice everything to achieve the goal, which I think, candidly, I don't know many people who are super successful who haven't done that. You have to be able to put everything you have on the altar of success and sacrifice it for what you want. Some people may not like that idea, and that's fine. I just don't know people who are ultra successful who have done that. And the reason they are willing to sacrifice everything is because the deficiency they have in their soul is so great that the pain they're suffering from is like for not having the thing is so great that they'll put everything else on the altar for their success. And I know that I did that firsthand. And so I remember even when I was growing into this entrepreneurial role that I didn't tell myself, I'm going to outwork everyone, because I didn't even think that was realistic. I said, I will out-sacrifice everyone. So when my competitors are going out to dinner, when my competitors are hanging out with their kids, when my competitors are hanging out with their wives or being good husbands, I was like, I will get ahead. That was what I told myself, and it worked. But at a certain point, and this is why multiple metrics of success are important, the new goals that I'm setting have constraints on them, because anyone can just sacrifice everything to get what they want. But the question is, can I build $1 billion a year revenue portfolio working 2 or 3 days a week, right? And can I do that also while being in competitive shape physically, right? And working out 1 to 2 hours a day because I like it. Can I do all of those things? And so this is kind of the new levels of challenge I'm doing, rather than trying to break what I have and doing 10 other new things. It's like, can I add constraints to the existing game to make the game more fun for me without breaking the machine? Because ultimately, like, the machine doesn't exist to serve me. It exists to serve the customer. And making sure that I don't conflate those two things has been a very valuable lesson. In the very beginning for me, I'll tell you this story. When I started, the first time where I really saw success was when I learned how to sacrifice. I was saying sacrifice earlier. So I'll tell you how I actually learned how to do this. So when I was in college, I ended up pledging a fraternity, and it was a very hard pledging process. Hard being like time consuming, right? And I think we had to basically every hour of the day minus 3 hours and minus class time. So we had 3 hours of study hall, and we had whatever our class time was. All the rest of the time we had during the day, we had to be at the house and doing chores and stuff. And so that was pretty miserable, and that wasn't like, a ton of fun. But what ended up happening was I ended up getting really good grades that semester in college. And it was because they forced me to do 3 hours a day, every single day of homework. And if you do 3 hours a day of work every day, and this is what I realized in college, there's the days that you don't have work to do. If you still work 3 hours, you get ahead on future work. And so I realized that for only 3 hours a day, if I just did that, I think that semester I got like a 3.83 or something like that. What I did after I finished pledging was I realized that all these extra hours of the day were mine. And so what I did was I was like, well, if I can just study all the rest of the hours, then I should do really, really well. And that ended up being a really good methodology. Was I just sacrificed all of my day. So I basically went to the gym, went to the library, and went to class. And that was it. And that was it. I never worked past 9 p.m. and I went out most of the nights of the week. But by always doing it that way and not wasting my time, I ended up doing really well. And it was the first time I ever learned how to sacrifice everything, which was everything else. I just didn't do anything besides work out, and go to class. Like that was it, throw on day. And so when I started applying that same kind of concept to business, it was actually fairly easy for me because I was so used to sacrificing everything. I just switched over what I was sacrificing for. And I think that you have to learn how to sacrifice first in order to learn how not to sacrifice later. Right? Because a lot of people are like, well, I want to achieve the success you have or whatever, but I don't want to sacrifice X, Y, and Z. I think you can say that. I just don't know anyone who's done it. It's kind of like saying, I want to get over the hold that money has on my life, except I haven't made any money. I think you have to achieve something before you can give it up. Right? I mean, Buddha, who gave up his worldly riches, like he talks, he walked the middle path because he had been extremely wealthy and a prince, and then given it all up and lived as a poor person and then walked the middle path. And so I think that in order for us to walk the middle path in life, we have to have achieved the thing we have to achieve mastery over the thing before we can truly master it and give it away, right? And that's how we can eliminate the desire for the thing, because we truly know what it's like to have it, right? And then that means we can truly know why we don't need it. And so I think that's, I know didn't mean to get 100% business philosopher on you, but that's kind of where I think this goes full circle. So big picture here, multiple metrics of success. Don't change your business just to challenge yourself. Find new ways to either create front ends or new product lines or things like that within your business that can satisfy your ADD. And if neither of those things are what you want to do, then just use constraints to create challenges in your own business that improve your life in other ways. Right? And you can always go back to my neighbor, the guy who sold his business for his trash business for a lot of money, and just say, he's like, why would I learn another business when I'm already really good at this one? He's like, I'd have to learn everything from ground one. He's like, that just sounds hard and stupid. And I couldn't really argue with the wisdom of that advice, because he doesn't use his business to satisfy his interpersonal desires. He used his business to create wealth, which was the whole point. So anyways, I hope you found value in this video. Click subscribe if you did. More videos like this to help you make more money. Mosey Nation, keep being awesome, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Bye.